The public session of the November 21, 2017 meeting. It's about 9:28. I say that because most of these closed sessions go on and on and on, and we can get things done. The effort was the result, though, of we had a closed session yesterday and spent a considerable amount of time yesterday hashing out a lot of issues. But with regard to the results from the closed session, can I have a motion to approve the memorandum on the Sunset Beach West litigation? As has been discussed, I'll make an announcement as to what it is.
So moved.
Any discussion?
I'd just like to say that I think our town attorney did an excellent job in resolving this issue, and I think this council unanimously voted it in.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Also entertain a motion with regard to the entry of a employment memorandum with Susan.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like the record to show that during our closed session, we had a telephone conversation with Councilman Serrato,
Yeah, I'll go.
and he joined the unanimous decision.
Yeah, I'll go over that in a second. I'll entertain a motion to enter the employment, the modification of the employment agreement with Susan Parker, the administrator, subject to the terms have been, we've discussed the terms which are acceptable. She just hasn't seen the final copy of the language, and it'd be subject to her review of the final language. Have a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, now with regard to the memorandum of agreement on Sunset Beach West, this has been, we spent a considerable amount of time yesterday working on this, and with the participation of Councilman Serrato, even though he's not here, because we communicated with him by telephone. There were, we had gone through mediation. There was a mediation session with the defendants in the lawsuit earlier this month. We reached what we thought would be a reasonable proposal. We brought back to council, and the council has unanimously agreed with the memorandum of understanding, the terms of which have been also agreed to by the defendants in the lawsuit for the Sunset Beach West. And the reason we make it subject to their execution is I'll sign it today on behalf of the town, but there's a number of signatures that are required on behalf of the defendants in that action. Basically what it will do, it will move the litigation to an inactive status because certain things have to take place and certain decisions have to be made. The state will be involved in those decisions, and in the unanimous decision, once again, we talked with Councilman Serrato by telephone this morning, and he participated fully in the discussion and voted and stated his opinions, and it was unanimous. We consider that it's a win-win situation for both the citizens of the town and the citizens of North Carolina, which will eventually result in the preservation of the property basically as it is in perpetuity. And that's the result. The actual settlement agreement will become available once it's been fully executed. Oh yeah, okay, I'll do that. The second thing is on Susan's employment agreement, that the modification of the terms that were agreed upon, there was an existing at-will agreement that was signed back in December of 2016. That's been modified to provide for that had a provision in it for a 6-month severance. That is, if there was a severance of employment within 6 months of the date of that agreement. That's been removed because obviously we're around 6 months of that agreement. Also, it provides for a 3-month severance if she's terminated without cause, 3 months pay severance if she's terminated without cause, which is also in the other agreement. A benefit of COBRA benefits for a period of 3 months, and a merit salary increase of 3%. That's the terms of what it, but the language actually subject to her confirmation. Oh, yes, and it provides for a reimbursement of, what is the right term? Travel expenses of $600 a month. A monthly automobile allotment of $600 a month. The old one was 400, and that was unanimous as well. That takes care of what took place in the closed session. Now, I skipped over the Pledge of Allegiance, and I need you all to join me in pledging the allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We had discussed, before the closed session, we were in a discussion with regard to the UDO. We're now back in approval of the draft agenda. Carol, you had said to carry the UDO?
If you wouldn't object. Now, I won't be voting on this at the next meeting. If you move it to the next meeting, new council will vote on it. But you will certainly have my endorsement that all the changes that we agreed to have been made. I'm going to sit with them after this. If you want to go ahead and vote on it right now, then I can't vote for it, just because I have not been able to confirm that. So, it's up to you.
Yeah, as John, go ahead, John.
I'm comfortable with voting on it now and then letting you take a look at it and make sure that your changes got incorporated, because we all agreed on your changes at the last meeting.
Just hypothetically, what change is not there? Can she change it, and do we have to vote again?
We agreed on those changes. They were editorial comments.
And so she would just check them to make sure that they're there. If they got omitted accidentally, put them
Then
back
what?
in.
Put them back in.
Well, they would have to be in. We voted on those changes, so you just want to make sure the language is there.
Right, and if I may real quick, y'all did vote on those changes. If they're not there, then we can insert them in as typos, and typos are always allowed to be corrected at any time.
That would be fine with me.
Okay, so that'll remain on. We also have to have a hearing on that today, but that will remain on to take action on it.
Good enough.
All right, any other applications with regard to the draft agenda?
Mayor, the appeals
Yes,
for.
okay, appeal hearings, number 4 on Palm Cove Lot 8 and Palm Cove Lot 9. Council's here. Are you up to date with what's going on?
Yes, sir, I believe I am, and thought it might be a good idea if I was here just to make sure we're all on the same page.
For purposes of public information, there has been meetings with the appellant and FEMA. The town basically violated the properties because they received notice from FEMA that they were in violation, and we had to do something because of FEMA's notice. And the planning director has been in communication with FEMA representative that a accommodation has been arrived upon between the appellant and FEMA with engineered drawings and whatnot that would obviate the violation. And it's just a matter of confirmation by sealed drawings that when the, are completed, when the repairs or the adjustments are completed, that they do comply with the FEMA. The FEMA has no problem with it. But it would alleviate the need now for an appeal, for us to hear an appeal on those two issues. And also, in my conversation with the planning director, it doesn't impact any time periods, because if, in fact, FEMA found them not to be in compliance with what FEMA agreed to, then it would start a new time period for appeals.
Right.
So there's no prejudice to it.
But Hyman, is there a time period?
We've already, what's happened is they've submitted the drawings to us, and the sketch design we sent to FEMA. FEMA approved conditionally the sketch design based on an engineer's certification after the installation, that it does meet the design standards and would withstand flood resistant, or would be flood resistant. They're already conducting the repairs currently, today, yesterday. They'll probably be finished next week because one of the houses is in use and they have to adjust some a water line. But after that's done, the engineer's supposed to certify the work. We send all that to FEMA. FEMA makes their decision on their case against us. And then it closes out. However, if FEMA goes back on what the design is, for whatever reason, they have to start the process with us again because we've already approved this. So they end up resetting the clock on us, and that or resets the clock on everything.
Okay.
But as far as my discussions with Mr. McClure at FEMA, everything's good to go, and we're on our way to being in compliance.
Okay.
All right, so those two would be removed from the agenda.
May I ask something?
Sure.
Clarification? Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning.
Council, I'm Matt Nichols. Just one quick point of clarification. I'm here today representing the Lot 9 Palm Cove owners, David Tindler and Susan Spratt. I'm no longer representing Lot 8 Palm Cove, which is owned by Finley Eford LLC. I just wanted to make sure that was there anything else that we needed to do with the town as far as, I know there's a compliance date of December 10th. It sounds like we're on track to meet that, and we do appreciate the town allowing us the continuance to work this out. We do appreciate the continuance that this council granted at the previous meeting. And I just wanted to make sure if there was any other continuances I needed to request, that I was doing that as far as that December 10th date.
No, as we discussed earlier, that December 10th date, we can, if for some reason the repairs take a south turn or FEMA takes a while to get back to us, they've already assured us they'll go beyond that date with us to meet the time necessary to get the action taken care of.
Okay.
There will be no penalties for passing that date at this time, and the town will be the one to request the extension on that behalf, because it'll be in FEMA's hands at that time to make their decision. And I can't guarantee how long it'll take them to do the review.
Okay, great. We appreciate Mr. Marziano's cooperation too.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Nichols. All right, I have a motion to approve the draft agenda as amended.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, then the next item on the agenda would be the public hearings on the CAMA land use plan. I have a motion to open the public hearing on the CAMA use plan, land use plan. All those in favor?
Aye.
The public portion of the, public hearing portion of the changes to the, proposed changes to the CAMA land use plan is now open for comment from any member of the public. Any member of the public have a comment with regard to the proposed CAMA land use plan amendments, please step forward, state your name and address and your comments. All right, none appearing, motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item is the public hearing on the UDO Amendment, Article 3, Part 8, Building Inspector. Have a motion to open the public hearing? All those in favor?
Aye.
The public hearing is now open for the amendment, the UDO amendment to Article 3, Part 8, regarding the building inspector. If anyone has any comments, please step forward, state your name and address, and we'll hear your comments. None appearing. I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is minutes of October 2, October 12, October 17, November 6, and November 10. Do I have a motion for approval?
Approval as amended.
I didn't know they were amended.
Well, what you have in your package are the amended minutes.
Okay, all right.
I assume you made all those things.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that, we've all seen those, okay. A motion, please?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The next item is public comments on agenda items only. Now's the opportunity for the public to address anything on the agenda. If you wish to do so, please step forward, state your name and address, and try and limit your comments to 3 minutes. None appearing, I entertain,
This is the first.
well, I don't know, we had it one other time, I think. Number 8, old business, consideration of the appointment of 2 planning board members.
to everybody else.
All right, there was some discussion about this be carried to a December meeting, but by some members of council. I'm not saying that the council discussed it,
I
but
think we ought to address it today.
Yes.
Okay.
Address it today.
if that's the feeling, okay. I have a motion, there's two spots open on the planning board. Peter, Mr. Larkin?
I'd like to make a motion, appropriate time, Mayor.
Now, a motion, and then we can discuss it.
We had 3 excellent candidates that were interviewed for the 2 positions that are open. And just as a point of information, we still have an opening for a ETJ position, which we have not received any candidates or applications for. Len Steiner, Bruce Fadum, and Ron LaBruno were the 3 candidates who had submitted applications to be interviewed. I'd like to make a motion for consideration of Bruce Fadum and Ron LaBruno to fill the 2 open seats we have on the planning board.
Discussion? No discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next item on the agenda is, I would like to publicly thank Mr. Steiner for his public participation. I don't know how many years it's been on the planning board, where he was on council prior to that. And his contributions have been invaluable, and on my behalf and on behalf of the residents of Sunset Beach, want to publicly thank him and express appreciation for his participation and service. The next item is adoption of resolution to amend the council rules, procedures, conflict of interest statement. That statement was discussed, I think it was proposed by Mr. Councilman Benton, that the chair, and I wrote this in to do it today, but apparently it's not in our procedure, a statement where the mayor at the beginning of the meeting states, does any council member have a conflict of interest or an appearance of conflict of interest with regard to anything on the agenda? If so, please state at this time. That's what the resolution is addressing. All right, motion? Discussion?
I have just a little bit I want to say. I have no objection to the statement, reading it. I think it's perfectly good, but I just do want to ask, so we have that, and if one of the council members thinks they have a conflict of interest, then what happens? Do we discuss it among the council? Do we get legal advice from Grady Richardson, our lawyer? Do we vote on recusal, or is there something else that happens? So what happens when
I think we talk among ourselves, and if we need counsel.
Under the rules, council decides whether or not to accept the claim of a conflict. And they can either accept that there's a conflict or say, no, we don't agree. We don't believe there is a conflict, and you have a duty to vote. But it's up to council on a
But
majority vote.
but if there's concern and
There's a
need
legal
for
question
advice,
you
then
need
We always
we
go
can
to
consult.
counsel. We've always done that.
so all of those things would.
All
would
those things
apply.
could take place.
Okay. I just want to
It's-
make it clear.
The statement by an individual that they have a conflict of interest isn't dispositive. The council has, under the state statute, the council has to agree. And if the council can't agree, then we'd obviously have to get involved in legal advice.
Mayor, as a point of information for the citizens, if the statement is read and we know something's on the agenda for that council meeting to be voted on, and one of the council members makes the statement that they feel that another council member in fact has a conflict of interest regarding that topic, would it then be up to the person who potentially could have the conflict to then ask the other council members to vote on that? Or can the other council members, in the face of denial of a conflict by that particular council member, then make a vote on their own?
Well, I mean, the answer to that question exists as it is today without this language, because there could be a conceive, and I don't mean to allege that this happens or is likely to happen, but conceivably, there could be a nefarious situation where somebody doesn't voluntarily disclose, but another council member has information that may raise a conflict. I don't think it precludes a council person from raising that issue.
It does not.
The fact that a council person doesn't raise it on their own doesn't preclude it being raised by other council people. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The next item, 8C, is consideration of the adoption of the CAMA land use plan. We have, for members of the public, to date, this is what has been reviewed for the CAMA land use plan. The planning board has spent a substantial period of time going over and revising, well, they created it in the first place. And I want to recognize all the efforts and the time and expertise that the planning board put in drafting the plan. The council has to adopt it, but the planning board, who's responsible for the orderly planning and development of the municipality, presented it to council. Council's had a number of revisions and sent it back to the planning board, to the frustration of the planning board, I'm sure, with comments, and the ultimate result is what was on the website and what Councilwoman Scott had referred to, with the last version having been, for any comments having been agreed to by council, but not put into published form to hand out to council. And the preliminary discussion and during the agenda portion was that the council act on the CAMA land use plan subject to confirmation that the comments from the last session are included in that version. I stated correctly? Okay.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The next is consideration of the adoption of the UDO amendment, Article 3, Part 8, Building Inspector. Have a motion? Discussion? Once again, this was staffed through the planning board. The planning board made their recommendations. We appreciate the efforts of the planning board in addressing the issue and making the recommendations. Any other discussion with regard to it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? New business, reviewing upcoming agenda items and identifying new agenda items for December 4 meeting. So the, before we discuss those specific, just for the edification of the general public, the Sunset Beach ordinance provides that on the date and at the time of the first regular meeting in December, which would be the December 4 meeting, following a general election in which council members are elected, which is this December 4 meeting, but after the call to order and pledge of allegiance, amendment and approval of the draft agenda, public comments on agenda items only, and farewell comments by outgoing elected officials, the newly elected members shall take and subscribe the oath of office as the first order of old business, and the second order of old business, the council shall elect the mayor pro tem. The effect of what that language is that although the draft agenda may be set by this council, actions on the agenda will be taken by the new council. Correct?
Correct.
I said that correct? Okay, so let's review the items, upcoming items we have. Well, we got the administration of oath, the nomination of the mayor pro tem, a fire department staffing analysis comparison. That's from the fire chief and the administrator, and neither are here, so I assume they're going to be prepared. The consideration of ordinance 93.01 amendment, premises to be keep clean and notice of violation. Once again, that's the DPW director and the administrator, and they're not here. Hiram, have you been involved in that at all?
Since it's Article A, not really.
You don't know whether they're going to be ready or not?
I believe they are, but I haven't been part of it, so.
Okay, we'll keep it on, then. I suggest we keep it on. Those are the 4 items we have listed for the 4th.
Do we need to go over the West End after all the signatures?
Well, let's put that on for possible,
Discussion.
yeah.
I have a topic I'd like to propose. And I asked Susan, I haven't got an answer yet, but it was a request that our legal advisor at the December 4 meeting give us a quick primer reviewing what open meeting rules are and how they affect our conduct of business as council members, and how it affects use of email. And that's just a discussion of that topic, to review it, particularly as we have turnover of the council members.
Okay, we'll put that on for the 4th. Anything else? All right,
I'm not ready to put this on the agenda, but we had one of our citizens ask that we reconsider our position on the mayor's council of concerning climate control. We did a 5-0 resolution earlier this year where we decided not to be part of that council. I have not changed my mind about, and I think it's not appropriate for Sunset Beach to be part of the council, but I think we could have a discussion about what kinds of things Sunset Beach is doing and then could be doing that would look after our environmental interests concerning climate control, but definitely stopping short of a vote to join the Council of Mayors in this issue. It's an important issue for us, and there are things that we are doing, I think things that we can be doing, but we should sort of take credit for what we're doing and look ahead at what we could be doing to promote climate control measures without joining the council. And so a discussion of that's what I'm looking for.
all right, in that regard, one of the concerns expressed by a member of the public was that 3 minutes isn't long enough to discuss it if they're doing it through part of the public discussion. And our rules provide for placing something on the agenda to discuss. That would be one way that public member would have an opportunity to address it for more than 3 minutes. And we've done it in the past. I mean, we did it with regard to the Metcalf Road thing, and it's not anything unusual if that's the way you're inclined.
So, Mayor, the procedure then would be, we as council decide that something is of enough import to list as an agenda item.
Correct.
And then during the discussion of that agenda item by council, we ask that involved party to join in that
Correct.
discussion.
That would give the opportunity to that public
But Bob,
person.
what time limit are we given?
Well, that's my responsibility. It's not, it avoids the 3-minute limit, but
No, but I
that
don't,
shouldn't be
I don't
3
want to
hours.
sit up here and get lectured.
No.
No, I just caution you that when you've made a decision on something, even though somebody may not be happy with that decision, it really doesn't mean you should or have an obligation to put it back on the agenda and have it discussed again. You just need to
My
be careful
point
about that.
was not discussing a vote to be part of the Council of Mayors. My point is a discussion to identify what it is we are a town what we are doing that promotes climate control, and to think through and suggest some of the things we ought to have on our agenda in the future that would promote
I don't have a
climate
problem
control
if we have
measures.
discussion
And
about that.
not a item that we would vote on, and I have no intention whatsoever of advocating reversing our position on the Council of Mayors.
If it's a discussion on what we can do as a council to make the town a better.
No, that's not a problem.
I
That's
have
not
no
a problem.
problem.
Okay, but let's look at, on the ninth, what we have scheduled for the 19th is fire relief, ABC board member, Twin Lakes easement, East End easement, consideration of the budgeting process. Those are the things that are listed as upcoming agenda items. So we know what's on for the 4th. We've added 2 to those 4 things that are on there. Would you want the 4th or the 19th?
Go back for the 19th.
Okay, so that, we'll put that on for the 19th as upcoming agenda items.
Just climate control discussion.
Climate control, right. Anything further? All right. Now's the opportunity for public comments. This is item number 10 on the agenda. If you have a public comment, it doesn't have to be limited to the agenda items. Please limit your comments to try and limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and address.
Limit.
Ms. Harris?
Jan Harris. Is it on?
It's all.
You can hear me?
Yes, it's on.
Okay. Okay. Jan Harris, 206 North Shore Drive, West, Sunset Beach. With regard to Councilman Corbett's suggestion about discussing environmental issues at the November 4th meeting, I really think that those kinds of issues require much discussion and should be done at a workshop, not at a council meeting. It would last forever, quite frankly, I think. And as you all know, meetings have been going on way long for the past number of months. So I think it would be better, I would suggest, that you schedule a workshop to discuss that issue and let the public participate as well. That's one suggestion I have. The other is, I would like to thank whoever made it possible to put sod in the roundabout and improve the looks of the roundabout. And I appreciate, I guess it would be the Department of Public Works that will be taking care of it. It looks much better than it did. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Other public comment? Sir?
Thank you. Ted James, 37th and North Shore. First of all, I'd like to thank the outgoing council members for all their hard work. And secondly, an item that was just brought up today, apparently some sort of action, it's not certified yet, has been taken on the west end. I'm hoping that the public has an opportunity to understand what that action is, what happened, before they're only given 3 minutes to comment on it in this forum. I don't think it's fair for the public to only have 3 minutes to respond on the exact same day that they're finding out what action was taken. And I think for something as important as this, and because there's a legal issue involved here and litigation and our tax dollars involved, the public should have time to know basically the substance of the agreement, so that when they are allowed to comment, they have a complete understanding and can make good use of their 3 minutes. Thank you.
Bob, can you explain why we?
Will you comment?
I'm not, I can't guarantee I'm going to say what you want me to say, but, well, the agreements will be made public, and but that's not addressing what his concern is.
For the council.
Yeah, because it is litigation, and it's really wordsmithing at this point. It's not substantive, it's wordsmithing that is the concern. And until everybody signs on the dotted line, it's difficult. I think what your concern is that you want some public discussion about it, and not just access to it, but some public discussion about it.
Well, because of the way you run things before the vote, there will be 3 minutes for public discussion in this.
Well,
forum.
we'll have, it will, when it's been executed, there will be, it will be an item on the agenda.
Right.
And Teddy, real quick, when it's signed by all the parties, it will be online for everybody to read.
Okay.
And that'd be a couple days.
Litigation matters are a little bit different than normal
Right.
town business, and we
the-
just can't, you can't subject those things to open discussion and public comment, and
Understood.
you'll never have an agreement.
The only thing that I could say in general is, for public information, is that what I said, and maybe I didn't emphasize it when
I heard it.
when it came out, in perpetuity.
Yes.
And the council has been very,
Congratulations.
the council has been very diligent in what that means.
Yeah.
And-
I'm just making my point because there's been other issues here where people hear about it for the first time, and then they're given 3 minutes to respond because it's basically a done deal. And I don't think that's a good way to conduct business. And also, the resolution at the beginning of each meeting about conflict of interest, that happens at a lot of other government meetings, and I think that was a really good suggestion. I'm glad you asked.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other public comments? Mr. Nern?
Charlie Nern, 647 Oyster Bay Drive. I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I hope that you have a good time with you and your families, not just for this council or the people here, but everybody in the town. Thank you.
Thank you,
You too,
Charlie.
Charlie.
You too. Any other public comment? None appearing. The next item on the agenda is adjournment. Have a motion?
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.